Hey guys, welcome back to Dasker Discusses. Well, I'm going to give you my review on the Jay and Silent Bob reboot. So let's do this, Snoogans. Snoochie Boochies, well, we're talking about the Jay and Silent Bob reboot now. Snoochie Boochies, yes, I remember back in the day when my brother brought home Clerks from the video store. I was probably about, 14, 15, and I watched Clerks, and I think I was hooked. It was that whole thing about, like black and white film, what is this? But the comedy behind that and the sharp dialogue got me hooked onto Kevin Smith films right from a young age. That, you've got Mallrats, Chasing Amy, Dogma was not bad, Zakamiri was okay, Jersey Girl, Tusk, the Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, and Clerks 2 was pretty good as well. So he's had some hits and misses over the years, Kevin Smith. So let's talk about this Jay and Silent Bob reboot, shall we? Now there will be some spoilers here, guys, just so you know. But really, with a film like this, it's called Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. So where does it all start from? Well, I guess you could say it's interesting in this film how they go about, they actually explain in the film what a reboot and a remake is, and is it in a way a reboot or a remake of the Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back film? Yeah, it pretty much is. Now what's interesting about this film is that, put it this way, nostalgia is a big thing for me. Now, this film's been getting some pretty bad press and bad reviews out there as well. But I think the reason why I enjoyed most parts of it was because of nostalgia. And here's why. In the film itself, you've got Jay and Silent Bob, played by Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes, the key characters that, you grew up with watching, okay? Now in this, you've got a whole bunch of cameos from a whole different range of actors over the years that have been in Kevin Smith films, which every time they came up on screen, I laughed and I was more engaged in the film. The cameos that appeared in this film that were in previous Kevin Smith films are heaps. Just to run through them, we've got Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Rosario Dawson, Justin Long, Jason Lee, Joey Lauren, Jason Biggs, Craig Robinson, Diedrich Bader, James Van Der Beek, Molly Shannon, Shannon Elizabeth. There is a whole bunch in there, right? What's really funny about it was that the story pretty much itself is Jay and Silent Bob want to get to Hollywood to stop the remake of their film Blunt Man and Chronic, but on the way they meet these girls, and basically they want to, it's kind of like the opposite, they want to get there so they can be part of this film. I didn't even know that Kevin Smith's daughter was in the film, Hayley Quinn Smith, which she actually plays a really good role. I think Jason Mewes playing Jay steals the show because, again, with his quick dialogue, his witty dialogue, it all works well. He's funny. Kevin Smith playing, Silent Bob does a good job as well. But what I really liked, and I said it again before, is the cameos from all the previous Kevin Smith films. So, you go in, for example, like our two main characters go into a mall, into a comic book store, and it's Brody from Mallrats. They sit there and have a discussion about the difference between a reboot and a remake with Jay and Silent Bob. And at times, they're breaking the fourth wall, looking at the screen, which again gives it that extra humor as well. Ben Affleck's in it, Shannon Elizabeth from her role in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back as well. Now the comedy in it is quite, vulgar, you could say, but it's a Kevin Smith film. Now, these days, maybe people will get offended by some of these jokes in it because of they're sexist or whatever, but there's a lot of jokes like that, and it's just a Kevin Smith film. The language used and the types of jokes used are distinguished by it being a Kevin Smith film, so I wasn't offended at all by little things. And even in the film itself, you could see it's actually playing with that. It actually discusses things like, people getting offended by things, and discussing the current generation and how things go about that, and how Jay and Silent Bob work around this current generation and how that works. So I found that pretty funny, how the film's kind of aware of itself, and the jokes that are said actually make fun of the film itself, Kevin Smith as a director, and also the fact that the most ridiculous kind of plot to a movie, which is this, and how Hollywood Kevin Smith takes a big poke at Hollywood. Now, it's interesting in that because Kevin Smith, the actual person himself, has got a role in this as the director of the remake of Blunt Man and Chronic. So you see what's happening here with this whole kind of like being aware of itself, but having Jay and Silent Bob in it as well. It's a big kind of mess, but I think it really works well. Why does it work well? Because every time we've got these new characters going from one place to another to get to, the Blunt Man and Chronic Con, as they say, they're always running into these older characters from older films, which I thought was hilarious, especially the Matt Damon cameo as well. If you listen carefully, the thing is, guys, that you have to actually, you know, it sounds stupid, but with a film like this, with the quick and witty dialogue, you actually have to listen to what the people are saying, otherwise you'll miss some of the jokes. Now you're probably thinking, Daska, what the hell do you mean by that? Listen to the dialogue. I mean that, and it's said in the film as well, with people staring at their phones so much and not you know, concentrating, that you're missing some of the great dialogue and jokes that are happening. So when you're watching this, if you're a fan of the old Kevin Smith films, I'm sure you will be watching with full concentration. But what I'm gonna say is that if you're not a Kevin Smith fan and you haven't seen Clerks 1 and 2, Mallrats, Chasing Amy, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, and even to some extent some of the other, like Dogma, for example, then a lot of these jokes will just go over your head and you'll be like, okay, I don't even know what's going on, I don't know who this guy is, why is this guy in this scene? So, in order to put that, it's kind of like, in a way, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. If you didn't know the story of the Tate Manson murders, then the whole ending of that film, you would have been like, I don't get it. Similar to this, I think Jay and Silent Bob Reboot was pretty funny as well. And the only part that I think that kind of like spoiled it, well, didn't spoil it for me, but the story doesn't drag. There's still a lot of funny comical bits in it. There's a lot of, you know, drug jokes in there because of, you know, Jay and Silent Bob, we know that. But I think the last act of the film, even though it was so ridiculous with what happens, that kind of took me out of it and it dropped a few points on me from that, just like the last act of the film. But after that, and even saying so as a whole, it's still a pretty funny film. And La Casette, if you're a fan of Kevin Smith films, you will enjoy it and you'll have a good laugh. In terms of a rating, I'll give it to you in a second. Once the credits start rolling, I suggest don't turn it off, keep watching right until the very end when you're given a joke. I don't want to spoil it, but you're given a joke which throws back to Clerks back in 1995 or 94, whenever it was made, which made me laugh, and then the screen went completely black. I was like, wow, that was actually hilarious. So yeah, that was really good. So with the credits, keep watching right till the end, which was pretty funny. So as a whole, like I said, if you're a fan of Kevin Smith films, definitely give it a look. If you just want a good comedy to laugh at and you know who Kevin Smith is and you want to have a bit of a laugh at some Hollywood cameos, then watch it. You probably won't get the same effect. But overall, my rating for it, you know, there's been some really bad ratings for this, but I'm going to give Jay and Silent Bob Reboot a solid 7 out of 10. Yep, 7 out of 10 for the Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. And as always, guys, let me know what you thought in the comments below. Leave a like if you liked the video, and if you want to stay up to date with my uploads, please hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys on the next episode of Daska Discusses. Snoogans!